Now, from the developer, right? How do you limit these interruptions? How do you communicate the current status, right? How do you avoid status calls and taking notes manually? How do you write the release notes, right? How do you communicate to the end user when that bug is fixed, right? All of those things that we're looking at, how can we help you solve those situations? So, challenges within the traditional communication, right? I'm working on a process, I'm working on a feature, I'm working on functionality, I'm working on bug fixes. That support person, that salesperson, somebody's got to come to me as the developer and go, what's the status? So I have to stop what I'm doing, figure out what they're asking, go back to them, tell them this is the update, it's going to be another week, whatever that process is. And then I have to come back to my code and go, all right, what was I working on? Where was I at? And that causes that process to go out longer. And it actually causes more bugs because you forget where you're at and you think you're 3 steps further and you miss 2 or 3 steps in between. Meetings, same thing, right? I have these meetings, which is those stand-up meetings, were a 10-minute meeting. I limited the meeting lengths, right? I want to reduce the time away. Don't want them to stop to go do a status call, right? I don't want them to be able to go through, and you have that same problem coming back, right? So you really are coming back and you're losing time because you're being interrupted all of the time. You're coming back, causing that miss, right? And really does give you more bugs in your software typically. So the right way to communicate, okay? You ultimately have options, right? My users, I can give them access to the project software, right? So our project team, for my team, we're using teamwork.com, and it tracks all of the tasks that I'm doing. They can see the due dates on them. They can come in and do that. We can do the same thing with our bug tracking system. But that forces the users who live in one system, right? Our salespeople live in a quote unquote CRM, whatever their quote unquote CRM is, Salesforce, Dynamic CRM, customer engagement, whatever they've branded it at today. That's where they live. Well, now they have to go learn another piece of software. They have to go figure out how to get around and get to that information. Then you've got maintenance, you've got licensing, right? You've got all of those other considerations that you need to understand. How is all of this going to work? Or you just generate a report. Here's the current status, right? I can create a report that shows all of the due dates. I can show the reports of the bugs that are fixed. But as soon as it's created, it's out of date, right? I can publish this out on our SharePoint site, but as soon as I create that in that report, it's out of date because I've solved another bug. I fixed another feature, right? I've got all of this particular information. So it's out of date. So really what we want to do is you have options with options 3 or 4, right? I can integrate the project software and the bug tracking system so that I can actually store the information from my project software or my bug tracking software in the quote unquote CRM, right? You can see my quotes around there because I just use that as my customer relationships, right? Whatever version you're using, everybody has a different tool. I don't care what that is, right? Same thing for the quote unquote help desk. What help desk software are you using? Because support needs to see what the status of the bug is. The salespeople need to see. And so I can do an integration, right? That's that Smart Connect tool that I kind of mentioned. That's our integration software that says I can push this information to there. But now I'm storing it in 2 different places. Sometimes that's helpful. Sometimes it's overkill. The other option here is what we call embed the project or bug information into the system the users live in. Actually embed that process right where they live.